Christmas is always meant to be a relaxing, restful time when you get to celebrate the festivities with your family and your friends and have an Instagrammable Christmas full of joy and calm and beauty and pretty things. And it all sounds wonderful until it comes to the reality of Christmas. And for many of us, it's actually a really, really stressful, expensive, overhyped time that can lead us to just feeling exhausted and drained at the end of it, and having done our absolute best to try and make everything run smoothly and perfectly, we can end up feeling really fed up when things didn't go the way we expected them to, probably because we set unrealistic expectations for ourselves in the first place. I know when I was younger, I had really high expectations every year. I wanted everything to just be beautiful, and I wanted everybody around me to have fun and enjoy themselves. I wanted a fairy tale Christmas. I wanted a kind of an Instagram Christmas, although going back we probably didn't have Instagram, all of that time. And the truth is, trying to achieve that just created a lot of stress. It meant that I didn't enjoy myself, and the people around me didn't get to enjoy themselves either. So now in my 50s, I've kind of let go of a lot of the traditions, self-imposed traditions a lot of the time, that are placed on myself and that I forced on my family that I thought were essential. I've kind of let them go, and it's been so liberating, and it's meant that I can actually relax and enjoy Christmas now in a way that I never could when I was younger. Don't you wish we could get these lessons sooner? However, better late than never. So I want to share with you 12 traditions, self-imposed traditions that I've let go of. If Christmas isn't stressful for you, if you absolutely love all the hype of Christmas, if it makes you feel good, if you get excited and it works for you, please don't think in any way I'm saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm absolutely not. If you can do all of that, all the fancy trimmings, and enjoy it and not feel exhausted and stressed at the end of it, go for it. I'm absolutely not being bar humbug about this. I love Christmas, and in reality I love it so much I want to be able to enjoy it, and I can't enjoy it when I feel stressed out trying to make everything perfect. But actually, if you thrive on that, that's great. This video probably isn't for you. So please don't think I'm saying this is what everybody should do, because we are all very different. I just know that for many of us, it can be quite stressful. And these are things that I've done over the years that have culminated in a much more relaxed and enjoyable festive period. So hopefully they'll be of use. If you want to add to any of these, please do put them in the comments. If you fundamentally disagree with me, that's fine too. That is fine too. I'm just saying this is what works for me. But let me know in the comments, what works for you, what doesn't. So, okay, let's start with tradition number 1 that I have let go of. And I let go of this a few years ago, and that is sending endless Christmas cards. The idea of sitting down and writing out 100 Christmas cards or more, which I used to do, to people that I would never see from one year to the next. We used to get the address book down, and I'd be writing to people at addresses that I didn't even know if they still lived there anymore, because we didn't have that kind of connection where they'd have let me know if they'd moved. And I would also write dozens of Christmas cards to work colleagues that I sat next to in work every day. And it just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense financially. It didn't make sense because I would want to try and personalize each of those cards, and it was time consuming, it was exhausting, and it never always felt authentic. And it's also not great for the environment to have all of this, excess paper, not to mention the cost. Nowadays, it is quite expensive to post a Christmas card. There was a time when the card would cost more than the postage. Nowadays, it's completely the other way around. So I gave up sending Christmas cards about 7 years ago. We haven't fully got rid of Christmas cards in this house because Mark hasn't quite let go of it. And what usually happens, although it hasn't this year, is he'll get to a couple of weeks before Christmas and realise I'm not sending any. Then he'll have a mad panic, buy a couple of boxes of Christmas cards, and he'll send them to all the family. Now, he's got a much bigger family than I have. I've only really got my brother, and I get a Christmas card off my brother every year, and I don't send one back. And it's not because I don't love him, it's not because I don't love the family, it's not because I don't care. It's just because I don't do Christmas cards. And actually, anybody who knows me well will know that you very rarely ever get a birthday card on time either. I do still do birthday cards, I'm just not great at getting them out there on time. The second thing that I don't do anymore is buying gifts for the sake of buying gifts. I think I had a bit of a scarcity mindset, a lack mindset. And I don't know whether this is from my upbringing or what, but I always felt that we needed to have loads and loads of presents under the tree to open on Christmas Day. And I remember when my daughter was about 5 going down to Mark's mum and dad's for Christmas. And I don't know why I did, but I bought her so many things. I don't know whether I was overcompensating because she didn't have a sibling at that time or what. She didn't have 2 or 3 stockings full of gifts. She didn't even have 2 or 3 pillowcases full of gifts. She had 3 big black bin liners full of presents. And of course, she was dead excited when she first saw them. And then after not very many minutes of unwrapping presents, she started to get really upset. And she was only 4 or 5, so she couldn't really explain to me fully what was going on. But I realised she was just completely overwhelmed. It was too much. We now know that she has ADHD and she is almost certainly autistic as well. And I think it was just overload. She was overwhelmed, overloaded. It was too loud, it was too busy, there was too much going on. She couldn't take in and process all of this stuff that was happening, all of these gifts she was opening. I wasn't even giving her time to sort of focus on what she'd just opened before I was getting her to move on to the next. I don't know what I was thinking, but it took me a long, long time, and I'm talking years and years and years to get out of the habit of buying loads. I didn't make that same mistake again, but we still always did have lots of presents. And actually, they weren't really presents that people had asked for or wanted. They were more gifts that I'd bought because I just felt we needed more to unwrap. And I'm trying, this isn't something I've mastered yet, but I'm trying this year to be much more intentional and only buy gifts that I've asked people what they want, or 1 or 2 very small, well thought through gifts. And this kind of ties into the next tradition, which is doing the big Christmas shop. You know, the Christmas shop, normally done the day before Christmas Eve, I could quite easily spend 3, maybe even 4 times our weekly shopping bill on our Christmas shop. And it was almost as if I was panic buying because I won't be able to get any food for weeks and weeks and weeks. And of course, the shops are shut for a maximum of 2 days, really. And I'd be buying stuff that was on show in the shops that entices you in to buy it. So we'd have far too many snacks and sweets and chocolates and alcohol, way too many drinks. I'd be buying things that we wouldn't normally eat. And I can remember one year going into the freezer to clear out the freezer around about August, September time, and finding boxes of Christmas snacks, the kind of tempura prawns and little mini sort of cranberry and pork sausage rolls and these, you know, the little sort of finger food type snacks that you can get from the supermarket. And we hadn't eaten them. They were still in the freezer. They were so out of date, they just got thrown away, partly because we don't really eat highly processed foods. And also, by the time you've had a big Christmas meal, you're kind of done. And so I would buy all of this stuff, and the amount of food waste that we would throw away was just ridiculous. For the past 3 or 4 years, actually, we've been using HelloFresh to get our Christmas dinner delivered. We're not this year because for some reason, and I'm not sure why, they aren't doing turkeys this year. But actually, even this year, we've gone for a frozen turkey, and it's in the freezer now. Because what I don't want to be doing is the mad dash, because we've left it a bit late. We didn't order a turkey, and I think we're too late to. I didn't want that mad dash of going and trying desperately to push and shove around the supermarket or the butcher's to get a turkey and then be drawn into buying all of the other stuff that goes with it. So I'm really cutting down on the amount of food shopping that I do. The fourth tradition that I've ditched are Christmas parties. When we were working, before I was working for myself, and Mark and I both worked for the military, we would quite often have maybe 4 or 5 Christmas parties leading up to Christmas. So in December, we'd have his works due, my works due, the girls from work would perhaps go out, and then there might be a couple of other parties that we were invited to as well. And it was just ridiculous. I don't even enjoy them. I don't enjoy that kind of everybody getting loud and rowdy and drunk. So I would just drink too much to try to drown out the sound, the noise. But also it was costly. You'd have the cost of the actual evening where you'd pay a huge amount of money for a subpar meal. And then you'd have an outfit, and you couldn't dare wear the same outfit to a different party, despite the fact that the chances are nobody was going to be at the same party, but you couldn't wear the same outfit. So that might be 3, 4, maybe even 5 different outfits. Chances are I wouldn't wear those outfits any other time bar Christmas. And then you've got obviously the cost of the night out, taxis, because you wouldn't be, you know, drinking and driving, and just way too much expense. Let me curl up on the sofa with Netflix and a glass of wine, cuddle up with Mark. That'll do me. I'd have that over a Christmas party any day of the week. A big self-imposed tradition for me was getting stressed out over perfection. I would have this romantic idea of what I wanted Christmas to be like. I would have a plan, and it would all be mapped out. We'd do this at this time. This is what breakfast's going to look like. This is how I want the present opening to look like. This is how I want Christmas lunch to look. This is how I want the table dressings to look. These are the games I want to play after dinner. This is how I want the day to go, and it has to be regimented like that. And I'm not a regimented person, but I get so in my head that it had to be so perfect. And then if any of the family didn't comply with my perfection, or if anything went wrong throughout the day, I'd have a little bit of a hissy fit, and I would feel so frustrated and angry and probably a bit sulky, and I would ruin my day, and I would probably ruin everybody else's as well. My interpretation of what they should be looking like having fun wasn't really their idea of fun. And now that I'm a bit more aware of the fact that both my son and my daughter, and my husband for that matter, are introverts, and too much stimulation is too much. You know, quite often my son, even though he's a grown man now, he'll come down, he'll join in the celebrations in the morning, and it's, you know, we have lovely Christmases, don't get me wrong. They're very, very family orientated Christmases. But by about sort of mid-morning, late morning, he'd disappear upstairs to his room and he'd just want to chill. And my daughter gets very overstimulated, as I mentioned earlier, with the bin bags of Christmas presents. So she's the same, you know, they would retreat off to their safe, quiet spaces. Mark's was normally the garage. He'd be out there fixing things, which used to drive me nuts. because you should be in here having fun. Now I'm much more willing to just go, yeah, do you know what? Go and have your space. We'll come back together for Christmas dinner and we'll all feel more refreshed and it'll be a nice meal. Instead of putting these ridiculously high expectations on myself and everybody else to have forced fun. Tied into that is another self-imposed tradition, which was feeling responsible for everybody else's happiness. You know, I can't be responsible for whether somebody else is having a nice time. And if somebody didn't appear to be enjoying themselves, I felt like it was my job, my responsibility to make them happy. And you know, quite often, my kids are growing up now. They've got stuff going on in their lives that, you know, they share a lot with me, but they probably don't share everything that's going on. I'd be seeing a behaviour and interpreting it as I'm not doing enough to make their Christmas enjoyable, totally oblivious to the fact that they've probably got stuff going on, maybe a relationship that, you know, was a bit wobbly or something in the background that they didn't want to tell me about because they didn't want to spoil my Christmas because I'd instilled this ridiculous sort of level of expectation. When in actual fact, you know, we all enjoy things in different ways and we don't have to be bouncing off the walls to be happy and contented. We all show that in different ways. And I wasn't really allowing other people to enjoy the day their way. If they didn't appear to me to be enjoying it, I felt I had to dive in and take responsibility for the situation and make everybody happy, which of course was having, most of the time, completely the opposite effect. Another tradition is something that I am absolutely working on, and I've got better and better at this over the years, is overindulgence. It's so easy when you've done the big shop and you've got all of the treats and the snacks and the sweets and the alcohol and, you know, all of the nuts and the cheeses and all of the rest of it, to just go a bit silly and overindulge. Because we're not buying as much, it's much easier not to overindulge. But also, Christmas is one day in reality, two possibly if you include Boxing Day. I totally intend to indulge on Christmas Day. I don't want to sort of restrict my enjoyment of the day. But I can remember in past years, it felt like it was almost, I was deserving. I deserved this because I've worked hard all year. And in actual fact, you know, it doesn't serve you to feel like crap because you've eaten so much crap. It's the opposite of self-care, isn't it? It's almost neglectful to our health and well-being to overindulge. Indulge, yes, but overindulge and go silly, I want to put that one to bed and not do that anymore. I have definitely got better over the years, and actually between Christmas and New Year, we kind of pretty much go back to the normal day-to-day style of eating and drinking. We don't have a week of indulgence because my body won't take it anymore. And I don't want to, you know, spend the new year trying to undo the damage that I've done by overindulging throughout the holidays. I want to start the new year feeling good, and I can only do that if I don't overindulge. Number 8, another tradition, self-imposed tradition, is playing the Christmas martyr. I have definitely been guilty of playing the martyr. I will do it because nobody else can do it properly. I'll put the tree up and I will dress the tree because nobody else can do it quite right. Even when the kids were young and they were trying to help, I would let them help and then I would tell them they got it wrong and do it the right way. Even things like cooking Christmas dinner. Get out of my kitchen at Christmas. What an awful, awful way to do things. We should be all in the kitchen having fun together. But no, I don't want anybody else's help. I will do this all myself because nobody can cook Christmas dinner better than me. Well, here's the thing. I haven't cooked Christmas dinner for the last 3 or 4 years. Mark has. And do you know what? He's pretty bloomin' good at it as well. And yeah, I still dress a Christmas tree, mainly because there's never anybody else here now to help me do it. But asking for help, taking help, having HelloFresh deliver for Christmas. I don't have to be a martyr. I don't have to be the only person who can do all of this. No wonder it was stressful. I was making it stressful because I wouldn't let anybody else help me. Number 9 is overspending. I don't know what the stats are, I haven't looked them up, but I would imagine a large percentage of people put themselves into financial difficulty as a result of trying to make Christmas perfect. When you think about it, it can be a very expensive time. All the things I've spoken about, Christmas parties, Christmas outfits, overspending on gifts, buying way too much food, sending out pointless Christmas cards and spending a whole load of stuff on postage. Oh, the money just mounts up and mounts up and mounts up, doesn't it? And I don't want us to put ourselves into financial difficulty trying to strive for an Instagrammable Christmas. Consumerism is huge, and it's very, very difficult to walk around the shops and not be drawn in. I'll give you an example of this. So I was watching some YouTube videos about how to dress a Christmas tree. I wanted to do something different, make it look better. I'm not very artistic, as I've said, and I thought I'll watch a YouTube video or two about how to make your Christmas tree look lovely. And they were putting in all of these sort of bows and ribbons, and I think they call them picks, do they? Like branches and fancy kind of feathers and things to make it all look gorgeous. And then I needed a tree topper because our tree topper was it's pretty old and it's kind of seen better days. That's how it started. I was looking for tree toppers, and then I got into all of this kind of how to make your tree look beautiful. So I then went to a local garden centre to buy a tree topper, and as I was walking around, they had this most beautiful Christmas display with so many different decorations and ribbons and bows and sort of push-in things for your tree. And I could have quite easily got sucked in and spent an absolute fortune. I genuinely think I could have spent £300 or £400 just on accessories for the Christmas tree. And I had to really stop myself getting drawn in by the romanticism of it all. And I ended up paying $7.99 for a gold star for the top of the Christmas tree. And I bought a new wreath to go on the front door. And I came away, I spent about £30, that was it. But it would have been so easy to get sucked in. And overspending can happen. You've got to be so intentional about not overspending. And I think all of the other things that I've done in the past few years to reduce our spending has made a big difference. So I didn't want to go and blow it by spending £300 or £400 on decorations for the tree. And there seems to be a lot of pressure, doesn't there, these days on having a styled tree. Our trees when I was a kid were never that styled. My mum was no more artistic than I am. But I think back, and it was so lovely when we used to get the Christmas decorations out after a year, and we'd look back and remember the decorations. Quite nostalgic, and it was quite a ritual, quite a tradition. So actually our Christmas decorations, they've kind of been added to over the years, but some of these are probably 15, 20 years old, and they're still fine. Would I like a different theme? Yes, I probably would. Do I need a different theme? No. Do I need to spend £300 on new decorations for the tree? No, I don't. So I'm not going to. The tree we have with the decorations on will be absolutely fine, although there is a story I'm going to tell you in a moment about the tree. Number 10, I have stopped feeling guilty for doing nothing over the holidays. Now, when I was working a job, we used to do quite well for holidays. We'd normally get sort of 2 to 2.5 weeks off at Christmas. I worked for the Royal Air Force. They shut down flying, so it was easier to let everybody have time off. It was cheaper for the MOD to let everybody have time off over Christmas. So we always did well for holidays, 2.5 weeks. But I would always feel guilty about doing nothing. So we'd find decorating jobs in the house to do, or I guess it can't be spring cleaning if it's Christmas, but when I'd clean, I'd feel I needed to clean and do stuff. And if I didn't, I'd feel guilty. And this actually got worse when I started my own business. I'd find it very, very hard to switch off and not do anything. And this year, I'm going to really work on breaking that tradition. And actually, I'm going to enjoy doing nothing. If I want to curl up on the sofa watching some trashy Christmas film on Netflix, I'm going to do it and not feel guilty. I'm not saying I never did it in the past, but I did it with a sense of guilt, and it's the guilt that I'm not taking forward. It is a time for rest and relaxation, and the only way we can get that rest and relaxation is if we don't feel guilty about doing nothing. So that is a tradition that I'm definitely going to start building and letting go of the guilt, as I say, around actually recharging my batteries. Number 11, we're getting there. Number 11 is Number 11 is dressing up on Christmas Day. I want my Christmas Day to be relaxed, comfortable, enjoyable, and I can't be relaxed and enjoyable and comfortable if I'm wearing fancy clothes. I remember one year buying a rather lovely sparkly top to wear on Christmas Day, and I didn't want to get dressed into it while I was cooking dinner, so I then found myself between serving up dinner and eating dinner, having a mad rush to go and get myself ready. I then found that I was uncomfortable. It was a kind of a sparkly fabric, but it was a bit itchy, so I was a bit fidgety when I was trying to enjoy my dinner. And when I looked around, I was leaving a trail of sort of glitter and sort of sparkly bits all over the floor, and I just felt uncomfortable. And now, well, I haven't done for years actually. Now I just want to be comfortable on Christmas Day. I might put a Christmas sweater on, but probably not. The rest of the family tend to put their silly Christmas jumpers on. But really, that's going to be the most it's going to be. A Christmas jumper and some jeans, probably still in my slippers. And I want to be able to relax and enjoy Christmas Day. Quite often, these days, I won't even get out of my pyjamas until lunchtime. And then I want to put something on that when I'm sitting down for dinner. I can't say cooking dinner because I haven't done that for the last few years. But even this year, I am going to be cooking dinner. I want to be dressed in something that is comfortable to cook in, and that I don't have to suddenly have to go and have a mad dash to get changed and smartened up to sit down for dinner with my family who know me and love me and probably don't care what I'm wearing. So no more dressing up for Christmas Day. It's not like we're not church goers, we don't go to church or anything like that. I'm fairly certain if we were going out for the day, I would get a little bit more dressed up, but we never go out on Christmas Day. One of our traditions is that it is a family day at home. So no, dressing up for Christmas Day, that one's gone. The final one is my tree. For as long as I can remember, we have gone every year and cut a tree down. In years gone by, the kids would come with us and we'd choose the tree and Mark would cut it down and we'd carry it back to the car. And we've carried that tradition on right up until this year. And it's just got to be more and more of a hassle, really. The trees haven't been as good. And by the time we've got there, I don't like putting the tree up really, really early because the needles fall. Even with a real tree that we water, they still seem to shed their leaves, and I seem to react to the sap on the trees. So it's become more and more of a hassle. But the plan was still to go and get a real tree this year. And I was just scrolling through Free Cycle. In the UK, we have something called Free Cycle. I don't know if you've got it elsewhere, which is basically a free exchange of stuff. So if you've got something that you think it's way too good to put into landfill, but you don't want the hassle of selling it, you can offer it for free through Free Cycle. And as I was scrolling through Free Cycle, I saw an offer of a 6.5-foot Christmas tree. Apparently this couple had downsized from a house to a bungalow. They had 2 trees. One used to go in their conservatory and they no longer had a conservatory, so they were just giving away this tree. And it sounded quite good. It sounded quite a good quality one. So I said to Mark, look, rather than going and buying a tree, shall we just see if they've still got this one on Free Cycle, which is what we did. And here is my Free Cycle tree. So this tree cost me $0. And I feel like I'm doing my bit for the environment by recycling, repurposing somebody else's tree, which is in absolutely perfect condition. It still came with a box of the instructions. And I probably haven't fluffed it up as much as it should be because I don't quite know how to do an artificial tree. I think I'm meant to fluff up the branches a little bit more. But to be honest, I'm really happy with it. I'm not the most artistic person in the world, as I've said a few times. It was getting the artificial tree through Free Cycle that triggered me to need a new tree topper, to watch the things on YouTube, to go to the garden centre, and I could have quite easily undone all of the good of getting a free tree by spending hundreds of pounds on new decorations. It's got our old decorations on it, and I am really, really happy with it. It's got a new star at the top, but it was only cheap. And it's lovely. I'm really happy with it. I feel quite virtuous, I think, that I didn't pay for the tree and I've done my little bit for the environment. So there you go. They're my 12 traditions that I'm ditching, or I have ditched in my 50s, to make for a much calmer, more enjoyable, less stressful Christmas holidays, Christmas period. Let me know in the comments, what would you add to the list, if any? Maybe you fundamentally disagree with me, and that's okay too. We are all different, but maybe some of you have listened and thought, actually, do you know what? That's a good idea. I'm going to try that. Let me know in the comments. I would say have a lovely Christmas, whatever your Christmas looks like, whether you love the whistles and bows and all of the pomp and ceremony, or whether you prefer to be curled up on the sofa with a good book or a movie. Whatever makes you happy at Christmas, please, please do whatever that might be and make Christmas enjoyable and lovely for you and your family and your loved ones around you. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I still think whatever your festivals are, chances are you probably have similar stresses, and I think it's all about making sure that we don't leave ourselves exhausted, don't leave ourselves stressed, have the space to actually enjoy and have fun. So have fun, and I will talk to you again very soon.